Oh yes, Guilty Movie Pleasure fans, we are back this week with quite possibly the bayiest Michael Bay film I have ever seen in my life. If you like explosions and nonsense, then whoo boy do we have a doozy for you today as we cover Six Underground.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasures.
Yes! Michael Bay!
All right.
Bayist.
The Bayist.
Not to be confused with me just mispronouncing best.
Sure.
And putting a lot of other vowels.
Let us know. Did you confuse that?
Or Bay, as in B-A-E.
Uh-huh.
But what does Bay mean
That's
again?
what I thought.
Before anyone else?
Ever. Yeah. Before anyone else ist.
Bayist.
Bayist.
My Bayist. My before... Oh, man. So we're back. We're back. I'm excited with Six Underground. That was a weird intro. I'm Ben Begley, your host, and with me as always...
Jesse McIntosh.
Yes. And now I promised last week, for those of you... Thank you for giving Jesse the applause he deserves.
I think it was a cumulative applause for both.
I wanted them just for you, though.
You felt their energy only towards me.
I felt the energy.
I get it.
The applause didn't like the Bayist intro. They were like, get out of here with that. So I promised last week for you diehard listeners, and for those of you who didn't listen to last week, go back because it's a cliffhanger. Yeah. Because I said I would let Jesse pick this week, because normally how each week's movie picks go is I say, hey, which of these three do you want to do? And Jesse usually picks one, and I go, but what about this one? And so I kind of steer it sometimes.
A little bit, yeah.
And you suggested this, and I tried very hard to steer it again.
You did, yeah. You were like, well, let's put up a Twitter poll.
I was like, what about a holiday movie instead? Because it's the holidays. And then we put up a Twitter poll, and pretty not unanimously, but most of the votes, an overwhelming amount, went to Six Underground.
I would like to actually thank everyone who who participated in the poll.
Yes.
I think it was our biggest...
Which was still only like 48 people.
It was a small amount, but I think it was our biggest engagement in a poll in quite some time.
It just goes to show you, here on this show, every vote matters.
That's so true.
Your vote matters on Guilty Movie Pleasures polls. I don't know. It's a thing. We're still listening to the people here.
Maybe not America, but in Guilty Movie Pleasure polls, every vote counts.
Yes.
We broke it down on an electoral college system, though. We didn't go straight majority. We went regional, and we figured it
Harold
out
and Kumar Christmas won the popular vote, but Six Underground got the electoral college.
That's how it goes. You win some, you lose some.
So, Jesse, what made you want to watch this? What was your draw here?
Well, hours before I suggested it to you, I heard about it.
Oh,
so
really?
It was a very rapid progression from being informed to accelerating it onto the podcast.
Okay.
But I know we had discussed Christmas movies, holiday movies, because we wanted to do something topical. I felt like since it had come out this weekend, that was relatively topical.
Or very topical. It's trending right now.
I had heard only the smallest bit about it. I'm a fan to an extent of Michael Bay and his antics. And his films are always guilty.
Yes.
And so I thought that it would be the perfect one to dive into.
Even his great films are still guilty in moments.
Yeah.
Like The Rock is a fantastic, one of my favorite action films of all time. There's still guilty moments within The Rock.
Right.
Even though I don't think the movie overall is a guilty pleasure, there's guilty moments.
Bad Boys 2, one of my favorite films of all time.
Incredible.
I love it to death.
I was heartbroken to realize that Michael Bay isn't doing Bad Boys for life. Somebody told me that on Twitter, and I was like, oh, I guess I just assumed it was Michael Bay.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, that's heartbreaking.
I know. We'll have to get over it somehow.
I don't know how.
It's coming up my birthday weekend, so I'll still go.
I'm definitely going to go.
Yeah,
it's not going to change the fact that I'm going.
We should cover it on the show. We should go see it and then cover it the next week on the show. I love it. Done. But Six Underground, I only knew about this because a buddy of mine cut a bunch of the trailers and TV spots, and he had told me that it was going to be bonkers and that I would love it. But I don't watch trailers and TV spots anymore because I don't like anything spoiled. So I didn't know anything going into this. Within the first 20 minutes, I had headphones on, and I didn't realize how loud I was laughing. And my wife came down and was like, you're going to wake up our daughter. You're laughing so hard at this movie. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. This is the most Michael Bay I've ever seen. It's Bad Boys 2, The Rock, every single Michael Bay-ism and quirk turned up to like 15.
Yeah, he must have been traumatized early in life or in a former life by a vehicle, because he has such disregard. He crashed 150 cars
and pedestrians. It's like, we can swear because we got a few swears in the clips. It's like he's like, "Fuck you, pedestrians! You shouldn't have been here."
Right.
It's like that. There's a 20-minute. If you're gonna watch 20 minutes of anything this holiday season, I recommend watching the first 20 minutes of 6 Underground. It is a nonstop chase sequence where they give you very little context and just mayhem. We're talking, at one point, a car crashes into like some sort of crane thing, and it splits it in half, and the bodies fall out of it.
Yep.
Another part, a car flips over and the body falls out and gets impaled on something. There's a tanker, or there's a I don't even know how to explain it. There's like machinery falls and then knocks these giant like construction poles and impales the drivers, and that car flips.
Yeah.
There's a pedestrian that gets hit by the good guys, and they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." And he's like, "I had the right of way." It's like, vehicular manslaughter is funny.
Right.
It's so...
Right. There's like crazy. A slow-mo sequence where they almost hit a fleeing woman holding a baby.
A super hot fleeing woman holding a baby. As Ryan Reynolds out the window goes, "Baby!" Yeah. And then... in that same sequence, slow-mo almost hit some puppies as the doctor, I think she's number 2. Sure. No, she's number 3.
This won't be the last time I say this in our discussion. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I don't remember numbers. I remember who they are.
I don't remember,
the doctor.
And it doesn't matter.
She yells out the window, "Not the puppies!" And the wheel almost hits these 2 adorable puppies. And Dave Franco is driving, and... you know that you assume they're this elite team, but you find out that they're on their first mission ever. And Ryan Reynolds just is cracking jokes the whole time and seems terrible at whatever his job is.
Yeah.
And it's hysterical. And then there's number 4, right? Yeah, number 4, who's the Skywalker. And he's this parkour dude. And for whatever reason... I know we're going to get into the plot, but I had to explain this 20 minutes just so you maybe pause this video, go watch it, and come back. For whatever reason, number 4, the Skywalker, what's happening?
These are, you've pulled up the sound clips from a previous episode.
Oh.
Copy that.
Yep.
Copy that. So anyways, there's the Skywalker, he's the parkour dude, and they're like, "Where are you at, 4?" And for whatever reason, he's on the top of a huge one of the buildings in Italy.
Yeah.
And he, just so it looks amazing that he's up there. And then he runs down from that building to then help them out. But it's like, what? I guess you were a lookout? What was happening up there? What?
This poor guy.
And like, he gets his ass. He's the one who's in mortal danger more than any other character.
Every single mission they go on,
and they're constantly debating if they're going to leave him behind.
Oh my God, this poor guy is
that's
just
the major dramatic question. Are we going to leave 4 behind, or
save him? Let him die again? He's every single mission. He's like, "Guys, I'm surrounded. Just get out of here.
Going to die."
Every single time, and it's like, why do they keep leaving him in these vulnerable positions where he's on the top of a building and there are people coming up to get him? Yeah. And he's the only one, and everyone else is incredible. Gone. Why?
And the doctor, her character is only the doctor in the first scene where she's digging a bullet out in a very grotesque fashion.
Yes.
Super potentially / very non-hygienic way.
Right.
Out of number 3, who's the CIA spook.
I think 3 is the dude.
3 is the dude who's the hitman.
Yes. Uh-huh. So I think she's 5.
Doesn't matter.
I think she's 5.
It doesn't matter. 2 is the doctor, but she's only the doctor in one scene.
Yep.
And then the rest of the time, she's just absolutely gorgeous and badass.
Right.
But in typical Michael Bay fashion, there's not an ugly person in the cast. Everyone is a 15 on the attractive scale.
Yeah.
It just makes me instantly want to do push-ups and cry in a mirror. Is that weird?
Like simultaneously?
Like, at the same time.
Like wall push-ups so you can more fully look in the mirror. You're like upright.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
So this first 20 minutes, I mean, that sums up my thought. And then it gets even more insane from there.
We should note, since it did come out this weekend, we will be spoiling to the extent that we're able to spoil this movie. We will be spoiling. So if you're worried about those sorts of things, watch it and then hop back in.
To be honest, you can't spoil this movie because it makes no goddamn sense.
It truly doesn't make sense,
and it's hysterical. And us describing it is probably just going to make you go, "Oh shit, I really have to see this," because you have to see it to believe it.
It's a spectacle.
I loved it. I thought it was so fun. I really wish it was brought out in like January in the theaters because I would have loved to have seen this on the big screen because it was insane. And it was like Michael Bay. They were just like, "Hey, we're Netflix. We have $1 billion gazillion dollars. Do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
We won't edit you at all."
And he's like, "What's your car budget?" And they're like, "Unlimited. Write your own check, bud."
Okay.
And he's like, "All right,
perfect.
I haven't made a movie in a while. I've been saving these cars up.
Yeah, it's
so I just need to destroy something."
The most refreshing thing for me is that I think the reason I got a sour taste in my mouth after a while from Michael Bay is because he kept destroying Transformers, which Transformers has a soft spot in my heart from when I was a kid. And I would go to every Transformers movie in IMAX, hoping that finally it would make a lick of sense. And every time it would be amazing spectacle and just nonsense. And then after a while, it got to the point where even the spectacle was nonsense. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? I'm in an abusive relationship with Michael Bay and Transformers. And now, this is the kind of stuff he should do. Batshit crazy, not tied to my childhood, something. I would watch 6 Underground 2, 3, 4, whatever. I'd watch a trilogy of these.
Sure.
Like, just do movies that are completely insane and allowed to be insane, and that you're not shitting on people's childhood with it. Just like bonkers action films like where you started, like Bad Boys, The Rock. That's where he excels. When he can just be insane and do coked up action sequences that don't involve Optimus Prime. Because then it's just like garbled robot parts that you can't see what the hell's going on half the time, too.
Sure. I would argue that you couldn't, a lot of this movie, see what was going on.
See, I usually have an issue with that, and I didn't in this one.
There were just like a couple of choices, like especially in the beginning of that first chase, where we were just sort of like uber close up
until they revealed things,
until they showed what was happening, was like a little bit nauseating. Especially because we truly had no idea what was going on, and it was just like very, very close up on people's faces,
and like the bullet hole, and it was just like you're like, I think I know like we're in a car because I hear it.
Yeah, we could see like blood spurting.
Yeah,
and then the GoPro stuff just didn't feel right. Like I just wish I was able to see what the people were doing versus like what their perspective was.
Oh, see, I didn't mind the GoPro because it was sparingly used enough that it just looked cool for the parkour stuff specifically.
It looked cool, but it didn't feel like of a piece with the rest of the movie to me. Like
because it's so glossy.
It's so visually different that I was like, oh, that was a little jarring that we switched to that.
I can see that.
Now people are just jumping on rooftops. I like the appeal of that sort of stunt work to me is being able to see them do it and appreciate the skill that they have.
You would hate Hardcore Henry then. Did you ever see that?
No, it's off my list.
It's an entire first-person shooter movie.
Yeah, no, I'm out.
Where like
not interested.
About 30 minutes in, I was like, "Oh, A, I'm gonna vomit. B, I really just wish I could see this awesome choreography."
Yeah, I wish I could see it.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that.
But they were obsessed with having people fall from the tops of buildings and slide down glass windows of rounded skyscrapers,
which I loved,
which was very cool.
Oh man, when they threw the generals off the building,
and we just watched them go all the way down.
Yeah,
it was an unbelievable shot.
I feel like we don't even need to do the plot in under 3 minutes. It's
what I was going to tell you is that I'm usually bad with it. I would have no idea how to do it.
I think it's literally, I can do the plot in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Ready? Ryan Reynolds is an eccentric billionaire, a la like a Mark Zuckerberg or something. And it's not 10 seconds, it'll be 30 seconds. But he's not well known enough that that people know his face. So he pretends to die because he sees this awful thing happen when he's going for like a fluff piece for the tabloids, which is weird because then he's in the tabloids, so people obviously know his face.
Right.
Anyways, he decides to fake his death to then recruit all these people of various lines of work to then to then take out this dictator who caused this bombing of this clinic refugee camp that he was at. And so now the whole movie is just their mission to try and do a coup to put in the democratic brother instead of this dictator brother.
Sure.
And insanity ensues.
And many, many car wrecks.
And it's literally just like, it's basically 4 giant action sequences
Yes.
with minimal plot in between. And I was completely okay with that.
I was fine with how they sort of weaved in the like backstory.
Yeah.
I don't like whatever. That's not what it's about.
No.
I had it's a stretch.
Yeah.
To say that there's a philanthropic billionaire who can just walk around in plain sight after having been
Also, how does he still have access to his
dead?
money?
Well, you could do that with like a
Bitcoin
like
or
whatever
something,
account, under a I don't know. There are accounts out there that you don't need identity to access, right? Necessarily.
Sure. I'm sure.
You just need a code or something.
But yeah, there's the biggest thing for me is, how could somebody who, it's a huge stretch to go, there's this billionaire who's responsible for the Tesla engine he basically came up with this magnet / computing thing, I guess, that then we now use in all our cell phones and Tesla and everything in hybrid cars. And so he's a billionaire from it. But then he was doing this he was kind of a dick at first. He went to this refugee camp and he was like, we'll get some photos, whatever, sick kids, blah, blah, blah. Then the place gets attacked with gas and he sees a bunch of kids and people die, which you would think it would already be fucked up enough because he's seeing the aftermath of them. But he's so jaded and billionaire-ish that until people literally are murdered in front of him, he's like, oh, fuck, this is a problem.
Right.
And then from then on is when he decides to, even though he's in love with this woman, to fake his death while flying a plane.
Don't know.
For some reason. And goes, I got to bail. And then a body's never recovered.
Right.
Because he just parachutes out.
Right.
So there's a lot of suspension of disbelief, which is fine.
Here's the big one.
Yeah.
Is he goes to this show and he meets this dictator there under the guise of just another rich dude.
Yeah.
And starts talking to him at the bar. And not a single paparazzi is like, crazy dictator meets dead billionaire at the bar of a show. No one is there
He
to
wasn't dead
document
billionaire
this.
yet. So that's even more suspicious because he wasn't dead billionaire
Was he
yet.
not? I don't know. The timeline's messed up.
That's where he met the girl he fell in love with who then fathered his child, we find out. Spoiler! Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so he met her. That was a flashback.
So here's what I thought. And you're probably right.
Because then when he's flying the plane, he has the pictures of the woman he was in love with.
Right. I thought, who
I don't think ever gets a name.
No, because nothing matters in this movie.
Nothing matters, but everything does.
I thought that they had
everything and nothing.
I thought they had a relationship prior to him faking his death. And then that scene, he had met her. It was I have to see you again.
That's when he met her.
Okay. But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
How is there not paparazzi going, a live billionaire and dictator, or just American dude and dictator chatting it up at a bar?
Yeah.
Somebody.
And there's a throwaway line where Ryan Reynolds is like, you can't go to any country that you've been to before or any city that you've been to before.
Yeah.
But all these people are pretty notorious. And they're all just out in the open in big cities. They go to Las Vegas, they go to New York.
And Ryan Reynolds' disguise is just
it's just a wig.
Stocking cap with Metallica hair.
Yeah.
And he's getting on the other two for their disguises.
It's absurd.
Where they have these giant, we'll get to that.
They have a bunker that they work out of, but they're mostly just in the open. And there's this throwaway joke where there's a random dude who's, when they're in Hong Kong, is just sitting with them. And he's like, who the hell is this guy?
He's like, I'm Randall
and
or
he's
something.
Yeah, I'm Randall. He's like, let's talk about our dangerous shit when we're without Randall.
Yeah, or whatever his name was, Raymond or something. Yeah.
And it's okay. Yeah. Have this philosophy always, maybe.
But it's the best because I feel like they pretty much tell you in the beginning, don't worry about anything, just go with it.
Yeah.
And then you just do.
Yeah.
Because when it opens the way it opens, you're just like, well, fuck. I mean, you can do anything now, and I'm not going to question it because it's so absurd.
Yes. One more thing I want to get, and then we can get to the sound clips. But I don't want to forget it. When we get the like quote unquote backstory of the hitman, and he kills the guy in his swimming pool, and then he turns around and the guy's daughter comes out, and she's like, "Daddy, I can't sleep." It's fucking so bright outside. It's 2 PM. No wonder she can't sleep. It's not bedtime.
I love
what?
I love when you pick super tiny things like that to get pissed about.
It drove me crazy.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that. The thing that drove me nuts is the CIA spook character, she they say that the US took the Democratic brother of the dictator into custody, and she was there when it happened.
Right.
But then how did he get taken again by the dictator and end up in a penthouse?
No, I'm pretty sure that she says to him, like, the government has a deal with your brother. I am to deliver you to the brother.
Oh, and now she regrets it.
Yeah.
Okay. That was so confusing to me.
Yes.
But so let's just get into this. This is sound clip 1 where Ryan Reynolds is giving us a very ominous voiceover.
What if I told you I know what happens when you die?
What happens?
You become a ghost.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. But what we find out later, he doesn't mean literal death. He means faking your death.
Yes, he does.
You become a ghost.
Because then this thing sets up this entire... The big MO of the movie is like, well, now that we're all dead, we can do whatever we want. We're free from the restraints of society and the constraints of everything. You know, it's just like restraints and constraints.
Both. All kinds of straints.
All straints gone.
Yeah.
And so we've already described in detail. That's the most setup we get is like, we're ghosts. And then boom, we're right in the middle of an action sequence. We've already explained ad nauseum. You just have to see it. Just watch the first 20 minutes.
Yep.
There's some amazing sequences where the doctor's trying to pull out the bullet and blood sprays all over her face in slow motion. And she's like, "Ugh." And then the very next shot, it's almost all gone.
Yep.
And then there's Ryan Reynolds keeps screaming at everybody. And in fact, at one point, clip number 2.
Sorry for yelling.
You know, he at least he's apologetic.
It's a high pressure situation, and tempers flare.
You know, they hit a pedestrian.
Yep.
They almost killed 2 puppies, a woman and her baby.
They're at this point, I would say, not trying to hide.
Yeah,
they're quite out in the open with what they're doing.
Also, there had to have been some cell phone footage or something in this sequence where then that goes on some sort of FBI database or Interpol or something.
Yeah.
Because they're not wearing masks.
He must have gotten the only 6 people in law enforcement, because there's not a single police car, not a single responder to any of the fights.
Until there is at one point. Yeah, there's cops that show up in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong is the only one.
Italy, they're just like, this
Italy,
happens.
there's nothing.
Once a week.
Vegas, there's nothing.
Once a week, people drive through museums and crash into very famous statues.
Turkestan? Am I getting that right? Turkestan? No police presence in Turkestan.
No, because,
I guess it's a military state.
Yeah, it's a state-run military, and they all side with the Democratic brother.
Not a single police officer, and no one being like, well, that's interesting. They're taking down generals from a dictatorship.
Sorry for yelling.
Yeah. No one's like, this is curious.
And it gets even weirder because the only thing we know about this car chase is that they went to an accountant or a lawyer to the dictator or something.
And they got his eye.
They got his phone, and we don't know. They got his eyeball because they need to retinal scan the phone. And so Ryan Reynolds has the eyeball. He drops it under Dave Franco's foot. And Ryan Reynolds is like, don't squish the eyeball. And there's this whole sequence where there's a gooey eyeball close up underneath feet as Ryan Reynolds is and Dave Franco's trying to drive, and then he scans it finally, and it's so grotesque and hilarious and just absurd.
I would say the best use of an eyeball outside of a skull since Minority Report.
I could agree with that. Yeah. It's one of the best eyeball outside of a skull I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would put it at least
it's in the top 5
for sure.
Hey, twinsies. Yeah. So they do this elaborate car chase. They get this information. We find out that their goal is to take out these 4 generals so that they cut off the head of the military of this dictator in Turkestan, and then they're going to kidnap the brother and hide him in a safe place until they can put him into the palace and let him take over.
Yep.
And then they're going to take over the state-run media, and they're going to tell everybody, "Hey, your dude's an asshole," which it's topical. It has things it's trying to say.
Sure.
And you can tell there's like a Michael Bay or somebody was like, "There's some important shit in here," and then they're like, "But we don't want to linger on that too long. Let's just like blow shit up and then like say some important shit and then blow some more shit up," which I am completely okay with.
Do you know who's taking over the world is the auto industry?
Fuck those cars. Fuck those stupid cars.
Very importantly, at the end of the chase sequence here, our guy, Dave Franco.
Dave Franco gets impaled.
Meets his end.
Not even from a bad guy. Like, he just swerves and crashes into a forklift.
Just from doing his job badly. Which begs the question, how did we find these people? Are they the best at what they do? And should we have trained?
We only learn how we find the Skywalker
Only
guy.
the Skywalker.
And that's because he was trying to steal these diamonds and fell like 400 stories, it looks like, through like 16 awnings and lands on the
on the ground. Like, not a cushion.
And then he's tied up to a chair like a saw type device with a shotgun at his face, and then it all falls over, and Ryan Reynolds is like, you should have seen your face. And I'm like, you're a sadistic fuck now. Like, you made this dude think you were going to murder him.
And so in this scene, Ryan, like, the whole criteria is Ryan Reynolds is like, "Are you afraid to die?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Are you sure? Because I'm about to kill you." Yeah. And then he becomes afraid to. But they set that up as like, this is the criteria to be in this unit.
Yeah.
But number 3 is like afraid of every single thing that he encounters.
Yeah.
Wait,
so who's number 3 again?
He's the hitman.
Oh yeah,
So I just don't understand how he found these people and why he decided on them. It makes no difference, but I was curious the whole time.
We get a backstory for each one. You already said the hitman.
Yeah.
He shot a girl's dad and then decides, "I don't want to be a hitman anymore," because the little girl's upset. The CIA spook regrets handing over the brother to the dictator. The doctor.
I don't think we got the doctor.
I don't think we did.
I don't think we got her.
I don't think we got a backstory for that.
We didn't get a backstory for Dave Franco because he wasn't important. We did for Corey Hawkins.
7.
Yep.
Corey Hawkins, where he was involved. He was in the military, the Rangers, I think, and he noticed a suspicious van and wanted to take the shot. His superiors wouldn't let him. It ended up being a suicide bomber, and it killed almost his entire unit. And he regretted it ever since. And Ryan Reynolds recruits him saying, I'm not going to tell. I would have told you to take the shot. I'm the one who's going to allow you to do that. So he joins, and Ryan Reynolds has this code of saying, "We leave you behind if you're left. Sorry, you're screwed. There's no ties, nothing." Which, why would you want to join a team that's like, "Sorry, fuck you"?
Yeah, it seems shitty.
It seems really shitty. Unless maybe he's paying them very well. I guess he's a billionaire. I'm sure they're getting paid well. They never discuss that. But then at their first mission, when 4 gets stuck in Hong Kong, he's like, "All right." Corey Hawkins makes him stop and saves him, and then that changes Ryan Reynolds' mind from then on. That's his arc. His arc is to care about people again.
Look, there's a lot of like nonsense in Michael Bay movies, but always it seems what it comes down to is a tight-knit group of people. When push comes to shove, they will do anything for one another, and they never leave each other behind. And it's recurring through a lot of his movies. And I found that particular part of this movie, although in the context of the rest of the movie, superfluous, very touching in and of itself.
Yeah, I could give you that.
Yeah.
So this is when they describe their headquarters, clip number 3.
It's a lot like the Batcave, except it's nothing like the Batcave.
Cool.
There's so many jokes like that.
Clears it right up.
For every joke that landed, there's 3 that don't.
Oh boy.
There's so many that don't land, but I don't care. But it reminds me of the humor in Transformers, where it's just like throwing everything at the wall and being like, "We're gonna throw 90 jokes in this scene, and you'll laugh at 3 of them."
It was actually really hard to grab sound from this movie because they are often talking about things that are not happening and have nothing to do with what's going on. They're just cracking jokes at one another.
The Hong Kong scene where the hitman just keeps quoting very famous, overused lines from movies. I'm just like, stop it.
Right.
And there's too much. There's so many bad jokes, but the batshit action makes up for it, so I don't care.
Yes.
This is when we hear from Skywalker, not Luke, but the Skywalker in this. We hear what's one of the perks for number 4 of being dead.
No more getting arrested by the pigs just for being naked or just usual stuff, being naked, getting drunk, casual stuff.
It's like there's all kinds of jokes in there like that where it's so random and makes no sense and is never revisited.
That's the hardest that I laughed in the whole movie when he's being naked or just regular stuff like being naked. Like you already
he
said,
doubles down on being naked. He triples down on it. Oh my God. It's so we talked about the car chase. Then there's the Vegas sequence where the hitman and the CAA spook, they come dressed in these ridiculous tennis player outfits where they have these huge prosthetic noses and chins.
Yeah.
And they look like the villain in the Rocketeer, the big giant guy.
Yeah.
Anyways, they go in and they knock on the hotel door of these generals, and the guy comes to the door and they shoot through the eye hole and blast his head apart. Then they go inside and it's fantastic. The one guy's smoking a stogie and they shoot him through the stogie. The other guy's trying to pop a zit and they shoot him through the back of the head and it comes out the zit. And then the final general, they shoot in the back of they kill him while he's having sex with a woman.
Yep.
And they make a joke like, well, it could have been worse. He could have finished. And it's like,
ooh.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, sure, but like, he still died inside of her. Like,
I don't think she got paid for this, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
So it also could have been better, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this could have been better. She could have been not. She could have made better life decisions and not be a prostitute.
I don't know. Maybe she hey, follow your passion.
Follow your passion. It's the oldest profession for a reason. Some people love it.
But I just hate to see people do work and not get compensated for the work they're doing. That's like unionize. You know what I mean?
So I thought this was going to be a really difficult sequence where there's going to be a bunch of bodyguards and they'd have to really try hard to shoot all the generals, and it's the easiest thing ever.
There's no security. It's no security. So stupid.
They just shoot all 4 of them in about 5 minutes, and it's a fantastic sequence, but makes no goddamn sense.
Truly unbelievable. Same thing in Hong Kong when they're extracting the
that sequence is amazing.
Yeah, but they when they go into the bottom floor and they throw the laughing gas,
there's no security.
There's no security. Everyone's just looking at them like, I wonder what that gas is all about.
Because all the security's on the top floor. And this is where the doctor comes in, and she's wearing a bright yellow dress, walks in without a mask on, then puts on a pink mask and throws laughing gas. She's obviously caught by cameras. They all are like, she's supposed to be dead 4 years. There's some CIA lady or something that never comes back.
Yeah.
She's just in one sequence talking to the dictator.
She's puzzling.
So the general sequence happens. We get a little bit more about why Ryan Reynolds is doing this, which is clip number 5.
Justice. Always justice.
They're going for justice.
Yeah.
So his thing is that other countries, because of all the politics and the red tape and all that, they can't take out this dictator guy. And he's seen the atrocities this guy's done. So he's going to do it. He's going to do a coup. He's going to stage a coup.
Right.
And they go to Hong Kong to rescue. So the next part of the mission is to go rescue the dictator's brother, who's more about democracy and more about the people's will. And he's on this top floor of this penthouse. It's a beautiful penthouse. And his brother, because he loves him, isn't killing him. Otherwise, he would have murdered him.
Sweet.
And it's loaded to the teeth with bodyguards up there. And there's this amazing pool that will come back in the best way ever. So there's a super elaborate sequence where they bring a crane over top of it so they can get onto the building. There's the 2 hitmen go up the elevator, right? Or how do they get up there?
Yes. Yeah. So the 2 go up, and then the one guy is sniping on the crane. And Corey Hawkins just blasts a whole bunch of dudes in this. Number 4 does his parkour usual stuff. He gets trapped in the pool, and he's going to drown because the bad guys are above him. And they can't figure out what to do. So Corey Hawkins snipes the pool and lets him breathe through a bullet hole. And then things escalate where there's only supposed to be 7 bodyguards and there's 100. And they're blasting, they're shooting bodyguards left and right, but they can't overpower them. So what they do is Corey Hawkins shoots the pool, and apparently this pool had the amount of water as the Mississippi River. Infinite water.
Because it floods the entire penthouse. There's this incredible shot where the CIA lady, she is being swept out, grabs onto the steel beam of the window, flips out over the edge of the building and comes back in and holds on as another dude as one of the henchmen flies out and falls to his death.
It's powerful enough to push everything out, but when number 4 was trapped in it, It was on the outside of the building. Yeah. So why did none of the water fall over the edge of the building?
Idea. I have no idea. But it floods the entire penthouse and just all these dudes and Benjamin are flying everywhere. 4's still stuck up there. They get the good guy down through a series of other ridiculous things you just have to see to believe.
It was the zip line.
The zip line, yeah. And he's like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, you'll be fine.
So this is we skipped a couple, but he's like, I'm afraid of heights. And so the hitman's like beating him to try and knock him out, but he's just like punching him in the face, and he's like, "Stop it, ow!" Yeah. And then they get across the zip line, and he starts running away from the hitman, and so the hitman starts beating him again, and Ryan Reynolds goes number 8.
Do you have rabies?
No. You have rabies?
What?
What?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Amazing.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, it's so good. Well, I don't know what the other 2 were.
So number 6.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Number 6 is when they're about to go to Vegas, and he's telling them to
choose your disguises wisely.
Which they do not.
Giant, ridiculous.
And
noses.
number 7 is right before Hong Kong when he's talking to the parkour guy.
Yeah.
And he's
saying good luck is bad luck.
I take it back.
Taking it back's even worse luck.
Go.
You know,
Good luck.
I love Ryan Reynolds because he can take really shitty dialogue and still make it have humor in it. Like that exchange is not that great, but he still just his little go at the end is so funny. Like he's like, it's almost like the actor being like, "This joke is not funny. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here." So that we have to end this scene. Oh my God, it's so the Hong Kong sequence is fantastic. But this is the moment where number 4 is left behind. He's like, I'm not going to get out of here. He manages to knock off most of the bad guys. The one big dude is just beating him mercilessly. He's going to throw him over the edge, right? Or something. I can't remember between the 2 where he's getting beat mercilessly.
Yes.
Corey Hawkins, number 7, is like, no, we're not going to leave him behind. He pulls a gun on Ryan Reynolds, makes him pull over.
Oh, no. So this one, they're on like steel beams. He's like running on steel beams.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. It's such a good sequence.
They set 2 grenades on a bunch of like scaffolding.
And so all the Hong Kong police are following, and all the scaffolding starts falling and miraculously misses them and hits all the cops. Mind you, innocent cops, dead.
Yeah.
Hundreds, dozens.
And they were also like, we're trying to get this one guy who's trapped up here on construction material. What if we just like released a bunch of dangerous shit from 100 feet in the air in the middle of a city center? Does that balance for you?
Yeah.
Like they could have just waited for him to come down. Where's he going?
He's a parkour genius though. He's
I guess, or just like followed him, been on the ground and been like, all right, I see him.
There he is.
Yeah.
Got him. Yeah. So Corey Hawkins saves him, and now they all start revealing their names to each other instead of just their numbers, and they're bonding more as a team. Mm-hmm. And what's clip number 9?
So they're driving this like tiny car.
Oh yeah.
And
they're all in a Mini Cooper.
They're all in a Mini Cooper, and one of the guys falls onto their car.
That's the first where they throw the number 4 throws a guy off the building.
Yeah, and the hitman says number 9.
Was that a bad guy?
Was that a bad guy?
I don't know.
Was that a bad guy?
There's only one good guy left, so
I mean, let's hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. Fingers crossed.
So then we're getting towards the end action sequence, which is completely bananas, and this is Ryan Reynolds' pep talk before it.
Yeah.
Number 10.
Can I ask you something? If you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything that you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or let it slip?
Was that Eminem?
Yes.
So stupid. So stupid.
It's like one of the more recognizable.
It's so dumb. It's like you could have picked any lyric that's a little less recognizable, but as soon as he starts saying it, it's like, I see this joke coming from a mile away.
And then to like call it out in such a prolonged manner, to be like, is that Eminem? You know that it's Eminem. Everyone knows.
We've known for 45 seconds that it was Eminem.
Yeah.
So do we have any more time on the clock, Ryan, or is that it?
We do need to start wrapping pretty soon.
Oh shit. Okay, fine. Let's just say the final sequence involves a coup, and then Ryan Reynolds and his team basically attacking a yacht that's that's the dictator's panic room, and Ryan Reynolds setting up these giant magnetic devices.
We haven't even mentioned the magnets, which is how he got rich from making a magnet, which I think has been invented already.
It's something to do with phones and Teslas. We don't know. But so the final sequence, you just have to see it to believe it, because it involves him switching on this thing on his phone where the ship is magnetized, and they all have plastic guns and plastic bullets and plastic Kevlar vests. And so all the bad guys just get flung from side to side. And the best is when they're in the kitchen and they get flung up against, and then all the knives impale them.
Yeah.
And it just keeps happening. It's incredible. And you just have to see it. And then there's an awesome moment with the hitman and the CIA lady where they murder the shit out of 4 dudes in a pool table room.
Sure.
And it's just completely insane. If you thought you've seen everything crazy, that final battle is the most insane in the movie.
Sure. She stakes a guy's hand, which apparently kills him.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And then they trick the bad guy into thinking he's being rescued on a helicopter. And then they drop him off in the refugee camp that he bombed. And they brutally murder him, and they show most of it.
Yeah.
They like show them beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, kind of taking a chance there. Like they don't know how the resistance is going.
I think they knew.
Sure, but
they come machetes and clubs.
You've come this far. Just finish that. Maybe like go down with them.
They wanted to
observe.
let them have it.
They were like they dropped him off and then they took off, and they were like, I hope everything works out.
And then it's like, hey, we're probably gonna have a sequel if you guys like it. And I'm like, please God, have a sequel.
Yeah.
Because the clip number 12 is exactly the reason Ryan Reynolds and the Six Underground exist.
I'm good, just making the world a better place, that's all.
That's what they're doing.
That's all it is.
They're just making the world a better place, that's all.
The movie thesis.
This movie was fantastically ridiculous. If you go into it expecting anything that makes sense, don't. But if you go into it expecting Michael Bay being Michael Bay-ist, the Bayist. So we're going to do a new thing here that we haven't really done yet, which is rating it on a scale of guilty. So the 3 votes are
yes,
guilty but terrible, guilty but pleasurable, guilty but amazing. So for instance, John Wick would be guilty moments but amazing. Guilty but pleasurable would be Bad Boys 2.
Yep.
And guilty but terrible would be Garbage Pail Kids, even though I love that movie.
Okay.
So that's the kind of scale. What do you think?
You go first.
I think guilty but pleasurable, but verging on amazing because it's so guilty. Verging on it, but still I'd vote it a total guilty pleasure.
I would say the very center of our scale, guilty but pleasurable.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
The only reason it verges on almost amazing to me is because I cannot believe half this stuff exists in a film.
Yeah.
Made in 2019.
It is amazing that this is a movie.
Yeah, it's amazing. So there you go.
That's it.
Until next time, Jesse, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TooMuchJesse, and for Sketch at The Prom Losers.
You can find me at the Ben Begley on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find us at Guilty Movie Guys. This may be our last show for the year. I'm not sure if we can squeeze another one in with the holidays.
This will be the last show.